Hey, everybody, it's the iPhoneography podcast. I'm Greg McMillan, and this is our last show of 2024. And we've got a few things to talk about tonight, like we always do. We are going to talk about a new lens that hit the market, and we're going to go through probably a lot more photos than we normally do, but that's okay. I mean, it's the last show. Why not? And stay tuned to the end because we're going to talk about each one of us have a favorite picture that we've taken throughout the whole year. And we're going to talk about those too. Hopefully you haven't seen them before, but if you have, it's because they've been on here before. But anyway, I'm going to bring in Mr. Dave Podner. Hello, Dave.
Hey, Greg. How you doing tonight?
Oh, not bad. My voice is still getting back, but I think it's the 3 days I just worked in a very loud environment where you have to yell all the time. I think that's probably part of it. So
I can imagine that would definitely mess you up.
Yeah. And, we have absolutely no snow left. It's gone. Kaput.
Wow.
We've had rain for about the last 3-4 days, almost all day, every day. So it's been the pits. But anyway, it's, last winter we had a pile of snow. It went away. Pile of snow went away. So I'm sure we're going to get some more.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people were kidding around here because we were having highs in the 60s for late December. And they were like, oh, you know what? Winter's done.
Yeah, exactly.
It's springtime. Winter's done. Oh, no more snow.
Take the snow tires off. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, someone who doesn't have any clue as what we're talking about is Mr. Dwight Broman. Hello, Dwight.
Hey, guys. How's it going? I did see a snow cone the other day. So
you did?
Close. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Now I can get in about an hour and a half, I can get up to the mountains where they're making snow. So it's not too far away.
Well, that's not bad then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not bad for like what I guess you would be considered Southern California.
Yep. I'm in Southern California and I have surfed and I have snow skied and I have laid out by the pool at Palm Springs all in the same day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So tonight, this afternoon, wherever it is, whatever it is, wherever you are, we are going to talk about a new lens. And it's the new 240 millimeter Super Telephoto lens from Reeflex. I've had mine for probably about a week or so, and Dwight's had his for about an hour or so, as it would seem.
Yep.
And we're just going to talk about our experience with it so far, and why everybody should have one. So,
and I'm going to sit here and look at the pretty photos.
Well, Dave, so
I can ask as the person who doesn't have it.
Yes, I was just going to say you can ask as the as someone who wants to know more about it. The prospective buyer, that sort of thing. And Dwight and I will do what we can to be as informative as we can about it. So we both backed the Kickstarter. And here it is. Now, it's relatively small when you compare it to the telephoto of the G series lenses. Like it's not very big. It's longer, obviously, but it's not nearly as heavy. And even the wide angle is it's a good size in diameter compared to the Super Telephoto. So putting this, when you put this on your phone using the Reeflex case that has the thread mounts, it doesn't weigh it down as much as you might think. Do you find that, Dwight?
Yeah, I was pretty surprised.
Yeah,
with the weight profile on that, it wasn't too bad. Again, I've only played with it for 5 minutes. So
yeah. So there it is, mounted on the phone, and the magnetic lens cap. It's really magnetic. It's pretty good. It snaps on pretty good, and it's not the easiest to get off, which is okay. I mean, you don't want to lose that thing. But anyway, so there it is, and I've just been loving it.
I will say that being in manufacturing my entire life and taking a look at this thing and feeling it, and the mechanical aspect of the the magnetic attachment, these are made really, really well.
Yeah, and they're designed in-house by Reeflex. It's their baby. They did everything from the ground up with this lens, and my hat's off to them, because I think they've done an absolutely fantastic job. So and when I'm out now, I can't take it off my phone. Just most of the pictures that I've taken since I've got it have had this lens on, and so I'm experimenting, trying to see what works the best. I think ideally with a tripod, it's going to have the best results, but you don't need that, obviously. I mean, because like any telephoto lens that if you put a big lens on a traditional camera, the slightest movement at the tip of the lens at the end is going to give you some, a lot of shake. But the iPhone does a really good job of getting a shot fast enough that doesn't really matter. Dwight, in your 5 minutes of trials, how have you found that? Have you found it to be, difficult to work with at all?
No, I didn't have a blurry photo. I expected to, because when I was looking at the screen, I saw a little bit of shake as I was trying to hold it. Yeah. And it captured the photo fine.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, quick question. Oh,
yeah, sorry, I was going to say, Dave, any questions? Go ahead.
Yeah. Have you tried using it with the built-in camera app?
I have.
Okay. I didn't know, because I've tried, obviously not as nice setup as you guys have, but ones that like, you can just use this adapter to attach it to like a scope. And every time it does that, the camera just switches automatically on the built-in camera. So I don't know if you have that issue, or if you were using like a third-party app.
Yeah, Dave, I know exactly what you're talking about. And using lenses in the past, the native iPhone camera app gets confused, and it starts switching lenses on you. Yeah. I'm using the Reeflex app, and it's built for this, so there's no issues with separating of the lenses. One of the things I noticed, Greg, is I think we're only able to use it on the telephoto lens. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, yeah, because I was getting tunnel vision on the main. Yeah, exactly.
Now, having said that, to get back to Dave's question, I have put it on the main camera on this phone, but it has to be, no, let me think now. What did I do? No, I opened up the Apple camera app with it on the 5X. It's designed to go over the 5X telephoto lens or camera on the phone, right? And if the light is bright enough, it's got to be very bright, it will stay in the 5X. But the way the Apple camera works is if it's not bright enough, it'll jump to the main camera and zoom. Mm-hmm. And I've kind of played around with it in both those scenarios. So, but I mean, like you, Dwight, I just use Reeflex with it, and it works great. It's with any third party camera app, you can pick the camera by the one you want. I
really wish Apple would. That to me is such a minor thing, saying because they have it on video where you can lock it and not change the zoom and not change the lens on video. But I would love it if you could just say, use this lens only. But I know they tend to, with the, computational photography, use all three lenses occasionally. And I'm also just thinking for like night mode pictures, where you may want to try to use the telephoto on the, I didn't know if you could use it on the main or not, but the telephoto on the main when you're trying to do sky shots or night shots where, using the built-in camera's night mode would be a huge advantage.
Yeah. If you put it on the main camera, you basically get
tunnel vision.
A little circle.
Okay.
In the middle of the frame, like about the size of my hands in my screen.
Okay.
Where that's the image, everything else is black.
Gotcha.
So it's like just like looking down a barrel.
Yeah.
And since it's only on the 5X, it wouldn't be good for night mode anyway, because the 5X is not great for night mode.
Yeah, it's not the best by any means. Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, I do plan on trying it out. With some other third-party apps that have special use cases, like mood camera and things like that. It's probably going to basically the pictures will actually be, what you would get without the lens on there. But I mean, why not just play around with it and try it with, with these other specialty third-party apps, just to see how it works, right? That reminds me, there's an app that I just got. I think it's called 65 by 24. Dave, have you used that?
No, but I think I've heard of it. Okay. I haven't used it though, but I have heard of it.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool, and it's a one-time payment of $7 Canadian. So for you guys, it might be like $5. And it's basically just like a panoramic camera. So you could use that with the lens on it, and get some really good range. And because I oftentimes crop an image, like to do a panoramic, I'll crop it like in that ratio.
Now, is this by Guillaume Arad?
Could be.
And the logo just looks like the letter 65x24?
Is it 65 over 24?
No, it's next to each other.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes, that's it.
Okay. Because it is free in the US, but with in-app purchases.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I think it was free for me too.
Yeah, and the full unlock is $4.99. I was just seeing how much it was.
Yeah. Okay. So I know we're getting way off topic here, but I'll just cover this real quick because we'll probably talk about this app at another time. When I put it in my phone and I was trying it out, I couldn't do anything as far as adjustments, all that stuff. All that stuff is behind the paywall. You can just open it and take a shot if you wanted, but you couldn't, adjust. There's things like there's editing things or whatever, pre-shooting edits and stuff like that. Nothing like that would work until you paid for it. So I just paid for it. What the heck? It's cheap compared to a lot of camera apps out there. But anyway, so that's something that I want to try with the Reeflex lens, is try it on other camera apps and things like that. And, to see, to see how it works on those things. Scott Baker says, what about the 2X on the main? I'm assuming just a zoomed barrel. But yeah, I would imagine. Okay. So Dwight, when you put it on there and you hit the 2X, did the actual image get bigger or just it got bigger inside?
I can't remember. I can't remember.
I don't think it would get any bigger.
Yeah, it still wasn't usable.
No, it wouldn't be usable.
Yeah.
I'm going to try it. Scott, you always have the difficult questions.
Well, I can let you know. Now, it would not be usable for normal photograph, but I could see someone trying to, for artistic reasons, get that. It depends on how big that barrel is, but to have that barrel looking. If you wanted to try something artistic with it, where you would have like a smaller image in the middle.
Right.
Yeah, you'd have to, from what I can tell, you'd have to blow it up. Yeah. And then maybe make it a bigger file, take out some of the pixels.
Yeah. Okay. I can't share my phone. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll do this. I'm looking at my old MacBook sitting on the desk, and it won't be in focus because it's too close for this thing to gain focus.
Yeah, what is minimal focus length on that thing?
It's about 5 meters or 15 feet around there.
Yeah. So it wouldn't replace the.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's makes a good handle. So that's looking through the lens on the 1X. And then when I go to 2X, it actually does enlarge the ring, like the circle, where you can see the image. But you got this real big black solid.
Looks like a heavy
solid
vignette. I mean, that could be artistic.
Yeah. It could be, yeah. But it's cut off on the edges, right?
Yep.
But
actually,
but still, it could be.
The first shot almost looks like a photo of the sun with a sunspot going across the middle.
Yeah.
Or looking out of a peephole in a apartment or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Scott, that is a moon photo, and that is the Apple complex on the moon. Because he says here, wait, is that a moon photo? But anyway, so there's, yes, it can be put on the 1X camera and used in different ways. But right. I mean, if you want the best image quality, go to Reeflex and just use that, and use the 5X, and like the use the right camera natively.
Use it as it's designed.
Yes, that's right.
I mean, it's one thing to jerry rig something if you bought something for like $10 or $20 and you're trying to jerry rig it to work, and that's one thing. You're buying something for a few $100s, use it as it is designed.
Yeah, that's right.
I do wonder though, could you, and this is a little jerry rigging here, kind of put if it is going to be dark, but you kind of wanted to force it while still using the native camera app. If you could just cover over the other lenses with like a piece of felt or something, where basically you're covering the other two lenses, you're covering the main lens, and it's like, well, it's so dark, I'm going to go with the 5X.
It might. I don't know. Something else to try for sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's dive into some pictures. How's that?
Sounds good.
We will. Okay, so I'm gonna get some of these. Where did they go?
While you're doing that, Greg, I think it's going to be really nice to, when I get on the beach and I want to get some surfing photos, it's going to be really nice to get closer to the action with with that lens.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So this first image, this was out on a drive, probably the day after I got the lens, probably the day after. And this is when we had snow, obviously. Now the sun is bright in the background, but you see right here in the center, right dead center of the frame, this is a farm implement just sitting there in the snow. Now this is taken from the 1x camera. And I did this to show everybody, like, this is how good this lens is. This is how much it zooms in on stuff. So now, if I was to go to that window and there, standing in the same spot, that is with the 240. And both of these images are unedited. And I was just blown away
at
how
amazing.
That pulls it in. And now this is Dwight's that he
that's with the lens on.
That's with the lens.
Mm-hmm.
That's with just the 5X.
Yep.
Without the lens.
Yep.
So it's a 2x lens, right? So it's taking that and it's making it twice as big.
And these are unedited raw files, and I'm not sure I got it, in focus as much as I could, and it was handheld. So
yeah, but I mean it's pretty sharp for being handheld.
Yeah,
right. Like it's not, there's no motion blur from the lens moving or anything.
Yeah,
and this shows you the compression that you can get from it.
That's why I asked about the minimal focal length, because I could not get the hummingbird feeder in focus, but I was able to get the tree in the background, which is about 30 feet away from the hummingbird feeder.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
It's crazy. Yeah. So about 15 feet minimum focus on these things.
Yep. So it wouldn't replace the telephoto of the G series. There's still a use case, obviously, for that. Would be for the portraits, and yeah. This was just a handheld. I don't know if this was the 200 millimeter or 300 millimeter macro clip-on, but I felt like I was about a foot away on this, as opposed to having to get up really close. So I can see getting some good insect shots, from afar without scaring them. Yeah,
that's where the macro attachments are really going to shine, is not scaring your subject away. You can get a shot of something like a rose in a thorny rose bush, and you won't have to get, you won't have to donate blood,
right?
Just to do it.
And I was rushing here, guys. I'll spend way more, time on this. But I only had about 5 minutes to just go out and snap a few.
And I think the other advantage of not having to be right on top of what you're taking a photo of is that you're not blocking a light source.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think that's the other issue is when you're doing macros and you're, inches away, centimeters away, you're blocking where the light's coming from. So that's kind of a pain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you can get further away where you're not having to worry about shadows and dimming it because you're blocking the light source, that would be a huge help.
Yeah, and you won't get the bee mad. I had about 5 or 6 of them chase me last time.
Forget about scaring the bees. How about scaring ourselves?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's I think that's all the pictures we have. Yep. So it's just an absolutely fantastic, amazing lens. And I'm seeing in the Reeflex Facebook group that more and more people are getting them delivered now. They had they got over 1,000 to send out from the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter was so bloody successful that their goal was 10,000 euros, and they did that in 8 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then they ended up with 388,000 euros. So, that is as successful as you're ever going to be with a Kickstarter project like that. And the product is bloody well successful too. I'm talking a lot of Australian here, Shane, if you're watching. And I mean, it's going to be on every mobile photographer's wish list. It's compatible. Okay, so let's talk about compatibility. It's compatible. It's designed for the 5X camera on the iPhone 15 Pro Max and the iPhone 16 Pro and Pro Max models. It will work on the telephoto lenses of the 13 Pro and Pro Max, 14 Pro and Pro Max, and the 15 Pro. It will. I haven't tested. I don't know for sure if this is 100%, but I saw a YouTube reviewer say this. So I'm thinking he must have tried it, but it's compatible with those cameras as well. So they all have a 3X or 3 times, and it will take them to 6 times. So it'll give that extra reach on those ones too. So if you have one of those older phones and you'd love to get more reach out of your telephoto lens, your camera, that's the way to do it right there. It just, I don't know. I can't say enough about it. I mean, when I go out, I put it in my coat pocket, and the Reflex case.
It's great. It's a great case.
This leather case is so beautiful. It's such a nice case, and Reflex is not paying me a cent. Believe me, I'm. This is all from the heart. It's such a nice case that this has replaced my silicone case from Apple, because that case drove me nuts. The lock button was so stiff that sometimes I went to make a purchase and it wouldn't work and whatever. When you got to double click it to make a purchase or whatever. This case is so nice. It's thin. It doesn't take up a lot of room on your, it doesn't make your phone that bulky at all. And the MagSafe really sticks to whatever you're putting it on. I've got a MagSafe compatible phone holder in my truck, and it just sticks there. And I bought a 4-wheel drive truck because our streets in this town call for it. It goes to show you how many potholes and stuff we have. But it doesn't fall off. It doesn't. I got that little Neewer little mini tripod that I saw Shane do a review of, and I love that little thing. It's got that MagSafe thing on it, and I am not afraid of losing my phone because it is stuck on there. So this case has a really good magnet in it or whatever it is that makes it work. And it's fantastic. So,
now, Greg, the part around the lenses, is that stainless, aluminum? I'm assuming it is metal. It has to be metal because of the screw-in part.
Oh no, I think it's plastic, but there's a metal insert.
Okay, because the way it looks on camera, it looks like metal.
Is it metal, Greg? I can't touch mine because I'm filming with it right now.
Yeah, it feels like it might be plastic.
It's probably plastic, and then you have a metal insert there for the threads on the inside.
Okay, that also
I think you might be right. Yeah,
that would explain why it isn't too heavy either. Because if that thing was solid metal, that would throw off the balance of the phone,
and it'd be a lot more expensive to make.
Yeah,
that's probably all part of the mold that they used.
Yeah, and unlike older lens cases, there's the main, and the telephoto is up over here.
Yeah,
up where the ultra wide used to be.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of machining operations if you.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just fantastic. Just looking in the chat here to see if we have any questions about it. Scott Baker, but how do I get 30 seconds? If you've ever seen the comment stream on one of Shane Mostyn's videos, that question will be in every one. And it'll be one of two guys putting it in there. I think we just saw one of them. To be honest with you, Scott, I'm sure this lens will handle a 30-second shot, say with reheld or with the long exposure feature in Reeflex Pro camera. And I am going to try it one of these days if it ever quits raining. So, it's, gosh, I don't know. Dwight, you got anything else you can say about it so far? I mean, I know you've only had it such a short time, but.
No, other than it's made really well. And I see a lot of potential here, based on what you've shown, Greg, and just my 5 minutes I've had a chance to play with it. So I'll be using it here very shortly.
Yeah. Okay. Dave, any questions about the lens?
Not really any other. Like I said, a lot of my questions, like I said, it definitely sounds like it's a 5X only, kind of recapping. And it's best to use with a third-party app and not the built-in Apple. But I'll also make a little comment. With this many people buying, basically it's a 2X lens.
Yes, it is.
Converting. So it's converting that 5X to a 10X.
Yes.
If Apple's paying the little bit amount of attention, the amount of people willing to drop hundreds of dollars to go from 5 to 10 would, in their minds, between the engineering and the marketing team, they would say, we have to make something with a bigger zoom. There's a market for it that people are willing to pay money, big money for. Something gets a little, look, when it went through 3 to 5, that was great. I think people want to have a 10X zoom or larger if you could do it, which obviously without making the phone exceptionally large, you really can't do that. Or making it stupid looking. I don't want to say stupid looking, making it look unusual looking, like some phones with 5 or 6, like 4 or 5 lenses on the back.
Yeah. Well, and I should say too, that this is also compatible with the Samsung Galaxy Ultra or 22, 23, and 24 Ultra phones with their 5X camera. I believe that's what they have. Reeflex makes a case for those phones, I believe. Now, don't anybody quote me on any of this, but so there's a link in the show notes for the Reeflex store for this lens, as well as their YouTube channel. And I just put the link to the YouTube channel in general because there's multiple videos about this lens on there. And if you did a search on YouTube for Reeflex 240 millimeter telephoto, you'll find the reviews that some of the people are doing on this thing. And I'm pretty sure their reactions are going to be just as much as we have here. Very excited about it. And I don't know. I can't say enough about it. And if I keep trying to say more, I know I'm going to sound like I'm babbling. So I think that's all I've got on it so far. Like I say, I've only had it for maybe, I don't know, a week to 10 days, something like that. I forget what it is. And the weather here has not been optimum for getting out shooting, but I do get out when I can, when it's decent enough. And spoiler alert, you're going to see some more shots of this from this lens in our recent photos, which I think we'll jump to now. So in the description for the YouTube video here, you'll see that it says wait for the end, because you're going to see some our favorite shot of the year from each of us. And so we're going to have a lot of pictures to go through here. We're going to do 3 of our recent photos each instead of 2, plus 1 more each for our favorite photo of the year. And it's going to, maybe take a little time here, but this is going to be fun. We'll try to keep our descriptions of the images down to a minimum, possibly to get through them a little quicker. But we're going to start with Dave and this really cool night shot right here.
Yeah. So this was taken, I was actually headed over somewhere for a Christmas party, and this was right at rush hour. So it was right a little after 6 p.m. So the sun just went down and got dark, and literally stop and go traffic. It was stop at this time. Rolled down the window and took my phone and just did a quick couple of shots while I'm on the bridge. And there were still some of the holiday lights on the buildings downtown. And I did it a little bit wider to get the stadium on the left and the bridge on the right there, and some of the lights on the hill, on South Side Hill there. And like I said, it's just got the point perfectly there. And the bridge I'm on, it's an old bridge, but it's not rusty, even though the railing looks a little bit rusty, but it's still open enough. I don't think it's distracting from the image itself, because it's kind of going right there, a quarter of the way up or so straight across. Mm-hmm. But I just love the look of the lights. And like I said, some of the buildings still having the red and the green lights, because this was a week before Christmas or so.
Now, David, excuse me, is that a panorama or did you crop it?
I cropped it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like the reflections and the generous use of negative space in the sky. I think lets it breathe a little bit. I think it's cool.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I love big city night pictures like this, especially when they're in a panoramic orientation. And I agree, the reflections are really cool. And the railing in the bridge shows that it's its age. And is that one of the yellow bridges, Dave, in Pittsburgh?
That's the West End Bridge.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not the one you see in the most of the photos. You have the 2 bridges kind of going across the rivers, going straight into downtown.
Yeah. But for anybody who's not really aware, Pittsburgh's really not notorious. That's a stupid word. Famous, I guess you could say, for having these yellow bridges that go across the river, and they really look cool. I just love all the lights and all that stuff. And with the red and green, you can tell the time of year with it too. It kind of gives you a pretty good hint. Had it been, say, Halloween, that could have been orange lights, or could have been anything. But red and green, definitely a hint that it's at that time of year, Christmas time. So.
And the reflection on the river, luckily it was you can see a little bit of the waves there, but it wasn't like overly choppy or frozen over as it sometimes gets when it gets really cold.
Yeah, well, good one. And Dwight, this is your first one.
Yeah, this is at one of my favorite surfing spots, San Onofre, California, which is in North San Diego County. I get into these bamboo sometimes, and it just feels just nice, just to be in there. And I just saw this longboarder walking by, and I figured I'd catch the shot. I did shoot this in RAW, and I did have to lift the shadows on the board to see it. I was going to remove that bamboo in the middle, but I kind of liked it. It just shows a little bit of depth. But yeah, it's just one of those things that just happened. I didn't have time to plan for it.
Yeah. Again, like last time, you had somebody walking and you got their stride in what I thought was just about the right spot, and I think that happened here too. Like it's a great position for her leg to be in for an action shot like that, and a nice subtle coloring of the water, and yeah, it just makes you want to be there.
There's no snow there.
No snow.
Yeah, that's right.
And I do like the breaking wave in the background too, where it breaks up all the ocean between the shore and the horizon. You have the wave break right there, kind of breaking up the image in multiple parts there.
Yeah, kind of like a layer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now that was really dull when it was in a raw format, so I did dodge that a little bit to bring out what I remembered in the scene.
Okay.
On the white part of the wave, the white water.
Yeah. Well, cool. So this is my first one. I don't know how far away I was from this building. It's the grain elevators. It's probably the most photographed building in the area here. Just because it could be, it could be laid in with a lot of good scenery from the area, like the bay or the harbor or whatever. And the lens brought in so much fine detail, in the ladders and, and that sort of thing. I shot it in Bayer Raw in Reeflex and edited in Photometer. And so, as with a Bayer Raw file, it does seem a little subdued, right? Like you said, Dwight, about yours, it was a kind of, didn't have much life to it, I guess you could say. And this one here was pretty much the same. So I added some contrast, a little bit of saturation just to get the browns out in the rust. And I didn't really need to, but I sharpened it just a little bit. Scott put a question in the chat about, the sharpness of the lens, and it's pretty good. It's pretty damn good. Let's just say it's the best image quality corner to corner, for image quality and sharpness and that I have ever seen out of a mobile camera, like a mobile phone lens. There's just nothing that does it as good as this one does, in my opinion. There's no fall off at the edges at all. So, but I took this because I wanted to kind of showcase just how well it gets this fine detail. And shooting in Bayer Raw, to be honest with you, does it more justice than shooting in Pro Raw, because Pro Raw has that processing and smart HDR and sharpening and all that stuff built into that file. And if I'd have shot it in Pro Raw, I probably would have taken it to Lightroom Mobile and put a different profile on it and got rid of all that processing. But I didn't have to, because I shot it in Bayer Raw, and it just works.
No, I can, and I like the fact, like you said, and I would suggest for people who are looking at the images, go to the website on a decent monitor or on an iPad where you're not looking at it. Because right now I'm looking at it on my work laptop, which is a good laptop, but for resolution and sharpness and contrast of the picture, I really need to bring it up on my phone to really get the feeling for how good this is, because of the way the monitor softens images.
Or do you have an iPad?
Downstairs, Ruth has it.
Okay, so
but
if you could look at it on there, that would
even be better. Yeah. So, like I said, for the listeners, if you have a chance, I would say go to the web. The YouTube is good, but YouTube also compresses everything, just like every other social media. Go to the website to really get these impact of the images. Because the one thing that I noticed was the rectangular funnels, I guess, for lack of a better term, what they are. How they're a little different shade from the rest, and rusting, I imagine, on the right one shows off so much better. Like you said, showing off the detail, but the coloration shows off so much better on a better screen.
Yeah, I think, Greg, if you would have shot that in Pro Raw, all those details right there would have been pretty gummy. And over sharpened. So it would have been sharpening up the painting, if you will. No, that's cool. I like the industrial look. I'm noticing the sky. I look at the sky and everything is the same color. And I'm just looking at that going, wow, you can isolate that real easy and have fun with some sky replacements and stuff. But that's great. And I'm curious as to why the one silo is a little more corroded than the other one. I wonder if it's the heat or the temperature of that unit itself. But it makes you kind of think about it. But no, that's a nice industrial photo and a good testament of the use of the lens for edge-to-edge clarity. That's amazing.
Yeah. Thanks. As far as like the rust in that on this thing goes, it could be something as simple as the one on the left was painted more recently.
Yeah.
I'd never really paid that much attention to that part of it, but
it draws you in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, it could be a temperature thing too. Who knows? There. Okay. So Dave, this one here, I seen you post these and you posted 2 different focal lengths, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. This was taken on a run on Sunday, and there's on the other side of the grass, there's a golf course, but I wanted to get down low where you would only see the grass and the trees in the background. So I did one photo. This was the 1X lens, and I did another one with the 5X lens where I really got the 2 trees in the middle a little bit more pronounced. Also, this one, these are both with photographic styles. This is where I did on the group how I'm addicted to the one style that gives you that teal sky. And I don't know why it just draws me to it so much, but they basically, not only were they 2 zoom lens differences, they were 2 different photographic styles I did. But I like I said, I like this one just, again, this was more cropped. This was cropped to panoramic instead of taken in a panoramic app. And this was literally getting down on my hands and knees to get that close up of the grass and just trying to move the camera just so I would get what's behind it with those 2 trees there and the tree on the right, just trying to get it just there. And the sky was there were just a little bit of clouds in the sky. So there was some texture to it, instead of just having a blank sky behind it.
Yeah, Dave, that's super nice. A couple things here. First of all, if I ran as far as you did, I'd involuntarily be on my hands and knees probably at this spot. But bravo to you for getting down low and shooting from a different perspective, right? That's one of the things that I had to learn early is you don't always shoot from hip high or eye level. Right. You can change the feel of a photo so much just by coming at it from a different angle. Always look behind you, always look above you. In this case, I think it's great. Now, did you use portrait mode for this?
No. This is just normal. Yeah, this was actually a live photo.
Okay, so this is
just
cool.
A normal one. Yeah. So it just the depth has gotten so much better without portrait mode. Where before you had to do portrait mode, otherwise everything would be just so great in focus. But it focused. I made sure I didn't even have to touch the screen. It just focused on the grass in front, and the rest of it just has a natural kind of, like I said, natural bokeh behind it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dwight.
Yeah, the main camera, or the Fusion camera, they call it now, in the 16 Pro Max. I imagine the Pro does the same thing, but it does. It gives you a really nice bokeh in the background or foreground, depending on where your point of focus is. But just the physics of that camera, it really has improved that aspect of things. And I like the style that you gave it. I think it really makes the sky, kind of pop a little bit. And also those trees that they're just a certain shade of like a purplish brown that just screams stick season. And is that? Oh, I was going to say, is that a caterpillar right there, just to the left of center? But then there's another thing there. It's some kind of
foxtail.
Yep.
What is it, Dwight?
Foxtail.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And when I did the photographic style, I took it so there'd be more contrast between the green and the foxtail bits there. Because the non-edited photo, it didn't pop this much. That's one of the reasons that kind of drew me when I was trying the different styles. That foreground just kind of popped, and that purple.
Yeah, see, that's the nice thing about photographic styles. Yeah.
I'm actually finding I'm using Lightroom Mobile a whole lot less because I'm really liking the look. Now, if I need something like, I need shadows raised up significantly. That's great for Lightroom Mobile, or using dehaze or clarity or something major for correcting the image. But to give it a style and a look, I'm using photographic styles because it's easy. It's built in. I don't have to import it and do it and export it, which I know isn't hard, but still it's, you want to get rid of any friction. And it does a pretty good job.
And it's non-destructive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Good one.
Mike in the chat is asking, what are the image sizes? Any of the images that I've showed are, I don't believe I've cropped anything. So they are, because it's the 5X camera, they're 12 megapixel. Like for a shot like this that Dave has right here on screen, you can take that in 3 or 4 different shots to make a panorama. But make a panorama if you have the right software to do it. But as far as anything that I've done, it's just native resolution, and I don't think I've downsized them or anything. I've just that they are what they are. So, and Dwight, I'm sure yours are just as they were shot because mine
was a 12 megapixel. I think the one that we first showed, but I did crop it to 4.5, so I lost some pixels there.
Oh right, yeah, okay.
And then Dave, you probably took this one in HEIF Max.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So actually, not even Max, not Max. Okay. Just the regular HEIF.
So you lost some pixels when you cropped it, but it's not noticeable.
Yeah, I just brought it up. It's 16 megapixel. It says 5712 by 2800.
Yeah. Which is still a respectable size if you wanted to do anything with it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's still 2.5 megabytes in terms of size, which that's why I use Hive, so I don't have to worry that much about size. And honestly, the reason why I have it defaulted for the camera app to kind of the Hive, live photos versus the Max Pro is like photos like this where I'm literally out on a run and I'm either taking the phone out of my pocket or I'm taking it out of a running sleeve I have and just trying to get a photo that way, versus setting up with, using one of the pro modes there.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's an interesting composition, but I think the photographic styles just really put it over the top for me. Oh, yeah. So another good shot. So Dwight here, we have another nice warm beach scene, or it feels warm anyway, warm feeling.
Yeah, it was in the evening, and this was a raw photo, and the waves were really big. You can't really tell here, but there were waves that were coming into Aliso Creek here that they had to time getting across that little channel there, or they would have been swept away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the water's getting pretty cold, and it's a pretty simple photograph. I did post this one on social media, but I thought it was a little bit bland. So, and I remember the scene being a little bit more, tinted than what I'd posted at. So I did do a little bit of color grading on this one, but I just thought it was interesting. Just, caught the gal in the front, in full stride, and the family just kind of behind them. And I like the leading line of the sand coming up from the lower right, kind of thought it drew me in to the subjects, and the horizon on the top third. Pretty simple photo, but it's recent.
It's always good. And if you kind of zoom in on the second people coming across, and if you zoom in, you notice it's two people. If you look far enough off, it looks like it's maybe one person that seems to be going, but it looks like they're just having fun racing the wave.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes a big difference. It's, people enjoying themselves on a beach day like this. That it just looks nice that way. And like I said, the way the leading lines of the channel goes that way, almost to the sun. Not quite, but going towards where the sun is there. So yeah, I mean, like I said, the beach images are so nice.
Yeah,
the beaches and just having clouds in the horizon and just that where there's enough clouds they're getting tinted by the sunset.
Mm-hmm.
Just the edge of the cloud. Yeah, just the edge of the clouds there. You have that reddish yellow tinge there, but you still have blue sky up there too.
Yeah. And, something that caught my eye in this photograph that I don't know if it would catch many people's eye, and that is in the lower right in the water, those reflections that are kind of like circles. I don't know if that's the clouds reflecting in the water or maybe
that's backwater, I think. I think it's backwater because it.
Okay. Yeah.
Also, I think it's the interference pattern between the waves coming in and reflecting off the sides.
Yeah. Well, it kind of looks like a reflection, but now that I think of it, there's some foam there, and whatnot. But it just caught my eye. So it's just another interesting element of the image. And I love the color grading that you did. The pinkish hues of the sand give it a feeling of, a cool warmth, if that makes any sense, because you could tell that it's, I think maybe in the back of my mind, it's the time of year we're in, even though you're much further south than us, it's still not 95 degrees out.
Right. It's cool out for sure.
Yeah. But the nice blue in the sky as it goes up towards the top right-hand corner, really adds to it as far as color goes. And like Dave said about the clouds, there's just enough clouds on the horizon. The color, the sun's tinting some of it, and just I don't know. It's just a very nice, colorful feeling image. And then with the people racing the wave, I wouldn't have realized that that's what they were doing until you told me, because to me I guess it's smaller than it really was. It looks smaller than it really was. But when I think about it now, I think of, okay, there's a beach that we have not far from here that sometimes can produce waves pretty big. You don't want to be hit by them because, by golly, you'll be just pretty darn wet and muddy when you stand up. It's a good action shot. And again, on the person in the lead, great placement of the feet, of the legs. I don't know how you do it.
If the audience wants to get a kick out of this beach, this is a world famous skimboarding beach. So if you type in Aliso Beach skimboarding, some of the best skimboarders in the world come here. But yeah, this is in between sets. This is a small wave, and you can triple that size, when a set comes in. So it gets pretty hairy right through there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, another good one.
Thank you.
So this is my second one, again with the lens, with the 240. And this is the entranceway into the local park. And this was at about 6 o'clock in the morning, shortly before 6 in the morning. I finished up work early, and about 5:30, I think I got out of there. So I tried to position the lights equally across the frame, but at the same time keep the aesthetics of the road, the way it curves. Try to make that, kind of fill the bottom of the frame as much as I could. And what I really, really like about this lens is the flare. So that light on the top right corner, that's just natural lens flare from the 240, and it just blew my mind how I don't need no software to make that like that. It's just the way it is. I thought it was really cool. And I had a lady, I posted this in there's a local photography group local to where I live. And I put this in there, and a lady contacted me and asked if she could do a painting based on this image, and she'd give me full credit for the image. And I said, yeah, go ahead. So I was kind of flattered about that. And I can't wait to see what she comes up with. But yeah, I just, nighttime with lights and trees and that, it just gets my attention.
Oh yeah. It's especially, I like not only the curve in the road, but it looks like it has a little bit of a hump to it where you're either going downhill or you're going slight uphill to go downhill.
Yeah. Looking away from, like, looking at it, you go uphill and then it crests and then comes downhill on the other side.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the sign on the road, I imagine that means do not stop on the side of the road.
Right, yeah, because there's just nowhere for the traffic to go. Like, there's 2 lanes, one in, one out, and nothing else.
Especially when it's so snowy like this, that kind of even narrows it down even more.
Yeah. Oh, I should say that this was a Bayer Raw again. So it was snowing a little bit, so I did add a bit of clarity. I think it was snowing. It might have been just a wee bit. It wasn't much. But I added a little bit of clarity, and I generally don't do a lot of noise reduction with these, but this one I did because it was just a little too grainy for my liking. I left some grain in it. But and then, of course, I just the usual suspects with contrast and a bit of saturation and whatnot.
And also, this is an advantage, and I think this is where Apple sometimes had trouble, and Samsung specifically has issues sometimes, and Google. Sometimes you want a night scene to look like a night scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You can tell. You can't tell when at night it is, but you can tell it's dark out. Yeah. And we don't always want our cameras to lighten everything to bring up all the shadows and get rid of the shadows that are naturally there. And just knowing that you only have those 3 little bits of light. Other than that, you are, there's nothing seeing. You can't see anything else going on.
Right. Yeah. Otherwise, it would be pretty dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, Greg, if you draw a line between the 3 lights and then down to the right lower corner, you've got that triangle. I think it's a nice flow for the eyes just to kind of come right through there. I mean, I look at this as a spooky scene in a movie for me. It's like my car won't start and there's somebody chasing me,
Wait till you see my next one.
Yeah, but it's cool. There obviously was enough light though to be able to shoot in Bayer Raw, because Bayer Raw doesn't usually come out very well in dark scenes. I don't know if that had to do something with the lens, if you would have gotten the same output without the 240 lens on it. But it really works here. The lighting in here is really, really spectacular.
Yeah, thank you. I was just going to look up the data on that. We'll move on to the next one here, and I'll look that up while we're going here. Let's see. The next one is, yes, back to Dave. Yeah, this is cool. I love this.
So this was actually taken after a storm. I just, it was literally right after a storm went through, just around sunset, and I was looking out and just getting a photo through the window with the raindrops on it, and just focusing on that up close and letting everything else kind of go more abstract. I did darken the shadows a bit. Like I said, the iPhone does a really good job about making sure you can see all the images, and sometimes you don't want that to happen. So the original image, you can see the houses across the street a lot clearer, but I wanted to kind of be darker where it wasn't 100% silhouette. I still wanted something down below, but not much. And the sky, the actual red part of the sky was pretty close to what it was in real life. The clouds I did boost up in color to give a little extra blueness and a little bit more dramatic look that way. It wasn't so blue per se. It was more of a gray with a slight blue tinge to it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this is art. To me, this is a beautiful texture that I would use, and as definitely as a layer, and something that I would do, from an artistic standpoint. but it's nice. You got the drops on the window. They look really super clear. So it looks like you've focused on those.
Yeah. And I did do some editing in Lightroom for clarity and dehaze to sharpen up the images, the drops a little bit more.
Yeah, and I like the warm tones and the cool tones, and I think they work together, and then how those colors translate to the droplets in the bottom and in the sky. That's really cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, I love the vibrance of the colors in the sky and in the clouds. I'm glad that you darken the shadows, because that really gives it a mood. That it just says to me, yeah, it's a storm, or there was a storm, and this is the light at the end of the tunnel, if you could, kind of, so to speak, with the sunlight on the horizon starting to show through a bit. It's just a really nice, moody photo. And like Dwight says, it's art. It is definitely a piece of art. Very cool.
This was kind of, I don't want to say an unexpected storm, but given the fact it was very warm around here, we had 50, 60 mile an hour wind gusts that happened. And in close around the area, Allegheny County, I think they had at peak 60,000 people without power. Because the ground being saturated, and then trees getting blown over and transformers blowing and things happening like that. So I know some people, they were, admittedly, luckily it did not get cold overnight where it'd be a true emergency, but it still got in the upper 30s overnight. So it was chilly for a few people after the storm rolled through and waiting for the power to come back up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, it's a great moody photo, and
thanks.
I like the crop too. Is that? Do you know what ratio that is, Dave, or did you just kind of do whatever?
I kind of eyeballed it
because it looks like a 65 by 24 crop.
That I don't know.
You freeformed it.
Yeah, it was more of a freeform crop just to get that look of trying to hit all the interesting bits, especially in the sky.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's very cool. This one, Dwight, is a nice, I guess I could say, a warm issue or image. Warm image.
Yeah, and a shout out to Photographic Styles here. This is one that I took recently, and it was an HEIF Max. I knew that by hitting the edit button, and I think this was taken recently when we were all talking about this. But yeah, I mean, I just went into, I don't remember exactly which setting it was, and I just played around with the sliders in the grid, and it was just it's just a simple edit right there. Didn't have to export it. I didn't have to do really too much to it, and yeah, it was just easy. This is Heisler Park, Laguna Beach, just north of downtown.
So it looks like straight ahead there's a bit of an outlook or an overlook where people...
There is an overlook, with a flagpole. And then beyond that is another cove. And my wife and I will catch a low tide, and we'll hike along the rocks along the shoreline. Sometimes it gets pretty challenging the farther you go north. And it's a beautiful area.
Yeah, it as soon as you said Photographic Styles, I took a little closer look at it, and I thought, yes, this is not a Bayer raw, because it just doesn't have that tack sharpness in it. But it's still pretty good. Like, I mean, if the waves at the lower left corner are frozen, like frozen in time. So it used a pretty fast shutter speed, and I just Photographic Styles are so cool. The color grading and stuff that you can get with that, it's just, the possibilities are almost endless. And
it's fun and quick, and anybody can do it.
Yeah. As long as you've got an iPhone 16 and shoot it in HEIF Max, you can apply them later, or you can apply them before the shot. And so you didn't apply them until after the shot on this one, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just one of the best things that Apple's done for photography, in my opinion, in a long time, is they've added these photographic styles, these new ones. They're far better than the old ones.
Oh, yeah. And one thing that's nice is if you either in the Photos app flick up on it or or trying to get the info button, it will tell you the photographic style you used.
Yeah.
The recipe.
Yeah, it'll give you the recipe, yeah. Mm-hmm. So just to touch quickly on my last image with the EXIF data, it was the ISO was 500 and the shutter time was a quarter second because I did have it on a tripod.
Okay.
Yeah. So ISO 500, you wouldn't think that it would be that noisy, but I guess it's because it's such a small sensor that it was pretty grainy. But as far as this one goes, it's nice. It's how far out does the tide go?
It can go out. It can go as far out as that rock in the middle on the left.
Oh, so yeah.
You can walk out there and look on the tide pools and starfish, and there's all kinds of neat stuff down there, neat creatures.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you're not allowed to mess with them, which is good. Preserve the natural habitat, but it's a really a beautiful area.
Yeah, that is cool. And as natural of an environment as it looks, oddly enough, the flag, I think it just adds to it. I think it looks cool in the image. If you took the flag out and the people and that platform that they're on, if you took all that out of there, it would look like a completely 100% natural environment.
Yeah. I contemplated taking those out, but it was a true representation of the scene. So I just left it.
Yeah. Looks good. So remember you said that you want to make sure your car would start.
Yeah.
This is a scene where I would want to make sure mine started. This was at the other end of the driveway into the park. From my last image, took it at the same time. Again, tripod mounted, and how far away that is from where I was standing, I'm not sure, but I tried to get an image like this one time in the past, I don't know how many years ago now, and it was late at night, and as opposed to early morning when this was, but I got my tripod out, and it was in the summertime, but it was wet. Like the roads were wet, so it had a nice reflection on it. And I got my tripod out, and I was getting ready to set up the shot, and I heard the most fierce growling out of the woods up on the left. That I just packed my tripod up, put it back in the car, and I was out of there. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't far away, and it sounded pretty vicious. So I wasn't going to hang around to find out. But this one here, it was cold. Like it was probably minus 15 Celsius. Oof. So I don't know what that'd be on the Fahrenheit scale, but it was pretty darn cold. And we'd had a snowfall, obviously, that night because these are fairly fresh tracks coming in and out. Maybe myself and one or two other cars, maybe since the snow started falling. And but what really caught my eye was, again, 3 lights. I think things in threes make for a really good composition, and the way the road and the guardrail started downhill, went uphill, and then over to the right. And this is a color image. This is not black and white. If you look really closely underneath the light on the right hand side, you could see just a hint of brownish color in some of those twigs there, or some of those sticks. And and I don't think I did too much to edit this, really. It was minimal stuff, like maybe a little bit of contrast or something.
So the vignette is kind of just the natural fall off of the light as you get further away from the light poles?
For the most part, yes. I do believe I put a very, very slight vignette on it.
Okay. Yeah, it definitely has that feel. And I understand if I heard something that was loud and sounded angry, I would not want to be around that area because, and this is the kind of road that scares me in the winter because you're going multiple directions as you're trying to drive along.
Mm-hmm.
you have to give it enough gas that you can take the turn and go up the hill, but you don't want to give it too much and you start slipping and sliding.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I love the fact also, like you said, about the lights. It's really dark in between the lights. And it looks like mainly because the lights are high, you have to be high enough up, but they're so high, the trees are blocking the spread.
Yep.
So they're really spotlighted down just where they are.
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, photography is light, right? And you captured it here. As Dave said, and you said, Greg, this is a freaky road. And if you look in the lower right, it looks like a hand reaching into the frame, like Bigfoot is trying to grab you or something. I don't know what's going on here, but the contrast between the shadows and the highlights and the trees this is an amazing shot. This has an Ansel Adams vibe. I know it's color, but it's a good one. I like it.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to try to do a very dramatic black and white conversion on this one at some point. Just to see how it turns out, black and white. In the lower right-hand corner, those are it's stonework that it carries on along the guardrail for, quite some distance heading out of the park. And that's a break wall, because down below is a river. And those are just, as it goes up the hill, they just, layered it up. But yeah, it does look like fingers coming into the frame. I never thought of that, but yeah, this was kind of close consideration for my favorite of the year. But I looked at a bunch of different ones and come up with something different. But so speaking of that, we are going to look at our favorite images of 2024, and they're just going to be one each. And I think we've got some really nice ones. Before we get into them, what do you guys think has been, like, say, maybe a highlight of your year in photography?
I mean, for me, generally, it's getting the new phone. And partially because photographic styles have been a big deal in terms of editing and making the artistic photos easier and more in reach. And again, this is where most reviewers of not just iPhones, but all technologies, irritate me. Because they'll say, oh, the 15 and 16, there's not much difference between the 15 and 16. Well, most people are not going year by year. That's an anomaly. Going from the 13 to the 16, which really is only we're only talking 3 years. So we're not talking an extended amount of time. The difference is amazing. And not just the 5x zoom, the clarity, the sharpness, and as much as people rag on it, the camera control button, where it's such a big help if you want to bring up the camera quickly.
Yeah.
Just a matter of locked, unlocked, doesn't matter. You hit the button, you get the built-in camera. That to me is a major thing, especially if I'm trying to take pictures of the cats or the dogs, or an action shot, or if I want to get a picture while I'm running. I don't want to have to, fumble or fiddle with stuff. Also, it is in the winter months, so you don't have to take your gloves off to even though it's not the best taking shot in the world. There's still that little jiggle. It's not as easy as it should be, but it's easier than taking glove off your hand and hitting the shutter button, especially when it's cold and wet outside. You just want to keep that glove on your hand while you're doing whatever you're doing when you want to take a shot.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Dwight? Has there been a highlight of the year for you?
Yeah, it's been my growth, I think, in editing raw photos and my journey with Photoshop. My experience with taking iPhone photos is it doesn't necessarily represent the scene when I look at it. So my goal has always been to, how can I bring this photo back to how I remember the scene, or how can I take it a step further and make it an artistic rendition of the scene? So I would say that I've spent a lot of time this year focusing on the editing piece, and that growth for me has been exponential this year. And I have been playing around with a lot of apps, and I look forward to 2025 and continuing on that path. So I would say the highlight for me is my growth within the editing suite of apps.
Yeah, that's a pretty good highlight. And for me, I'd have to agree with Dave. It's getting the new phone, but I mean, I'm going to couple that with the lens. I think the 5X on the phone is even on my 15 Pro Max. When I first got it, I was using it more than probably any other camera on the phone. When I got the 14 Pro Max, I think it was with the telephoto on that one, the 3X. So I'm a real telephoto nut, and I think that's why a big part of the highlight for me is being able to put this lens on a telephoto camera and getting some really good reach. And I don't know, I just really like it. So that's kind of been the highlight for me. So we'll go over our favorite one of the year. So I got Dave's pulled up here, and this is hot.
Give you a room shot there. Yeah, this was actually taken at a holiday dinner that we had out at an hibachi place. And I knew the guy was getting ready to do the big flambe thing going on. And so I got the phone out, and I thought at first, do I want a video or do I want a photo? And I said, well, I got the live photo, so let me do a photo. And it was just a quick snapshot as I'm trying to hold the camera with the flame coming straight up. And this is basically unedited. Wow. I darkened the background a little bit and sharpened it just a tidge. But for the most part, especially with the flames, the detail in the flames. And I really wanted to look back and see if there was something I took earlier in the year, because this was only taken in the last 2 weeks. So this is actually could have been a recent photo. Mm-hmm. But the detail in the flames and the fact when it went up, it kind of looked like a mushroom cloud, to be honest. Yeah. Because they had that going up and then expanding out and coming back in. But just you can see all the little delicate patterns and everything in the flames that are going up, all the way up, in fact. And the fact that really bright flame, it didn't, like I said, I made it a little darker to really emphasize the flame, the background, but it still kept all the detail while having that really bright image coming right at you.
Yeah, I've noticed the iPhone does a pretty good job of catching flames like this, but in this case, Dave, it's the 3D effect of it is really interesting as well. So yeah, it does have that mushroom kind of look to it, because the stem kind of goes up in the middle and you can see it wrapping around it. You can see the 3D around the edge. And you're right, the flame, the detail is, part dreamy, part aggressive. And then, all the different colors in there, and the highlights really aren't blown out.
No.
So no, I like that.
Yeah. And honestly, I just double checked to refresh myself. The main edit I did was to remove people using the cleanup tool. Just to the left of the flame, there was someone sitting. So I just removed him completely. And I removed the chef that would have been to the right of the flame. Mm-hmm. But other than, like I said, a little bit of sharpening, not really sharpening, a little contrast difference. But other than that, like I said, it's getting the shades of the flame, you can see the lines that it's going up. Just the detail, just absolutely crazy what it can do with a flame like this. Yeah,
it is so cool. It just looks like layers upon layers of like a satiny material. Mm-hmm. I would have loved to have seen this in like a slow motion, like the 120 frames per second slow motion, just to watch this thing build and then expand. But being a still image, it still gives you that sensation of slowness of it coming up slow. Like, I don't picture this in my mind as being a poof and it's done. It looks like it's just so many layers to it, and just an awesome capture. And I believe you said earlier that Ruth kind of talked you into this one, did she?
Yeah, because it was not that I didn't like the photo. I really liked the photo, but it was like, do I have recency bias? Is it a matter of this is just get your attention because I took it recently and it's just fresh in my memory. So I said, okay, hon, here's some of the photos. And she said, you got to do the flame photo. That's the first. She looked at the photo and it just blew her mind.
Yeah. So
it was just beyond, it would just, it got to her where she was like, no, this has to be it. This has to be it.
Like, okay, Dwight, don't you think that this is a picture that you could just stare at for a long time and just keep going through it?
Yeah. And I can make a transparency out of it, and, you can use that anywhere, as a PNG file. No, it's just so cool. Whatever he was doing, I'd probably want him to do it again. Was he doing an onion?
No, he was doing a smiley face.
Okay.
Yeah, he was doing the smiley face with the oil and then lighting the whole thing up.
Sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he didn't do I know they can stack the onion, put the water in it, and move it along. Choo 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 like a train. Mm-hmm. He didn't do that. He didn't do that this time
because you could start to see things in it. Like, I see a face right at the bottom here. You see it where I'm circling? I see a face right there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then I see Batman right here looking off to the right. I'm probably going to end up staring at this thing for quite some time, just looking for stuff. It's just so cool.
And I do like where the flame is right next to the griddle, and you can see it's basically, you can see the fluid because they're burning oil, so it is the fluid coming up.
Mm-hmm.
But it gives you more. You can actually see the kind of the droplets as it's coming up and then catching the air as it's going up and out.
Yeah. Well, very well captured, my friend. Very well done.
Thank you.
And I can see why you would make it your favorite for the year for sure. So we'll go to mine because Dwight's got his. He's going to share his screen, but I've got mine already set up, so we'll just go to it. And it's something that we've seen before already. I think I've talked about this on the show before. As a recent photo, and it's just a farm in the hillside during fall or during autumn. Something that caught my eye going down the highway. When I was going down the highway, when I first went past it, we were heading to another town, and it was on the right, and the sun wasn't quite down to the point where it is in the horizon yet, and I thought, that's nice. I wonder what it'll look like on the way home. And then we went and did what we were doing. And coming home, I slowed down and there was nobody behind me for quite some. Like, I couldn't see anybody on the road behind me anywhere. So I was able to slow down and just crawl along the highway. And then when I saw this opening, looking back at the barn, that's when I said, "Okay, here it is." So I pulled over and put my 4-way flashers on or whatever. Got out and went across the road and just stood at the guardrail. Actually, I hopped over the guardrail so I'd be off the road, and I just started shooting. And I took a couple of shots from, I think I might have taken a panel shot with the panel app or feature in the camera app, but I also took some with the 5 times. And this is long before I had the 240, so it's just strictly 5 times. And then I took about 6 or so shots across the frame there, and I stitched them together in Affinity Photo to make a nice big panorama, because I would love to print this big at some point. I forget what the resolution was on it on the final image, but it was like 13,000 or so pixels wide by whatever high. And I think I did in Affinity Photo. I put the stitching together and exported it, and then I think I did the color and contrast and whatnot in Photomator, just to brighten up the leaves and things like that. So it's just I love autumn, and this is just screams autumn to me. I mean, I don't know if it was prime, maybe it was beyond prime, for the colors and that, but just the way the sun was and the shadows and all that stuff, I think it just really worked for me.
Yeah, and like I said, it just has that nice feeling of serenity that you have there, and the fact that you're on a hill just adds a little bit texture to the front than if it was just a completely flat area in front of you.
Yeah,
and like you said, it's a little bit past because you can see some of the trees there have some sticks on them only, and the leaves are gone, but that adds to it in my mind because you have the evergreens still there, the dark greens. You have some trees that are still looking a little green, a little yellowish green. You have some of the red and the browns in the backgrounds and the sticks there. So you got the whole thing going on. So it adds, it adds color that way instead of, a lot of the photos you see are just at that perfect time when everything just pops. But we all know that timing things like that's basically impossible.
Yeah. Well, and I was sick during the really, really good prime part of fall too. 4 or 5 days I missed of shooting, but so I was able to get out and get some stuff anyway.
Yeah, this is nice, Greg. I mean, again, photography is light, right? And I just love how the light is flowing through the scene. You can tell in the foreground that it's coming through the trees, and then it obviously opens up past the trees on the right there because of all the light hitting the background. Excuse me, and the side of that silo there. And then the green and the orange, and I think it's a nice fall capture, and I think it is worth printing. Definitely, yeah. I like it.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. And this was all raw shots too, like Beta raw, no Pro raw. So because I wanted to retain the real sharp crispness of all the, the tree line and the grass and the fence posts and even the textured boards in the barn and that. So
and you need a little bit of noise for that.
Yeah, and I think there was some noise in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is some noise in it.
Yeah.
So
there's detail and noise for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So that's my favorite of the year. So now, Dwight, are you able to share your screen? I hope so.
Yeah, I think we can. Okay, this is the San Clemente Pier, which is south of me about 10 miles. And I did set up on a tripod, and I wanted to catch the sunset. I just like the way the sun was hitting the pier, and I thought it was screaming for a long exposure. And I believe I used the Reeflex app for this. I think the motion blur. I don't remember my exact settings or how long I did it for. This was early in the year. But I just can't get past this one as far as I just haven't had anything that has come close to this, in my opinion, for a quality shot for me this year. And I believe that this was, I think I did do this, with kind of my standard editing process from a bare raw file. A lot of dodging and burning, and I like the creamy texture of the water and how it kind of shifts from a magenta to a blue from right to left, which is kind of indicative of the impact of the sun here on the right-hand side and where the sun really isn't hitting on the other side. But I just thought it was an interesting picture.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. The water does have that dreamy quality in the sky. Because of the motion blur, it doesn't have that harsh bit from one to the other, and the waves are kind of nicely evened out.
Mm-hmm.
It just has like a rolling waves and nothing crusting. I love the pier just going straight off, and you can see the end, but it just seems to go on.
Yeah. I like the reflection at the bottom of the frame of the of the pier from above. It's blurred because it's just basically in wet sand. Like there's not a lot of water there by the looks of it, and just the softness of the colors and you go.
And I was on a tripod. I don't know if I mentioned that. I was. Yeah.
Yeah. You go from an orange color on the right over to like a, bluish purple on the left. Just the transition kind of takes you through the frame. This is what it does to me. It takes my eyes through the frame, and I run my eyes along the rails along the side of the pier. And then I go down and I look at the legs of the pier and I go back to the orange again. And then I go down to the bottom and I go through the reflection at the bottom. And then I circle around to the top and I follow the pier back down to where it leads down to the end of the pier. And then I end up at the sun again. And then it just seems to start all over for me. It just a really cool shot. And so when did you take this?
I think it was in January of this year.
Was it really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's cool. So this was somewhat kind of early in your editing adventures,
yes.
Was it?
Yep. This is one that I may go back and see if I can improve it. But, I think it's okay the way it is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is. It definitely is. I'd love to see what you can do to improve it, if anything, but it certainly is really nice the way it is. This would look great in an acrylic.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. So that's our favorites of 2024. And I can't wait to see what we all do in 2025. We're three different guys who have three different styles, I guess you could say, for photography. And we live in three different places in the world. So that to me is exciting, to see what we can come up with. And for the listeners and anybody that's watching on YouTube, I can't wait to see what everybody else does. Share it in the group. This is just, I'm writing a blog post for this lens. That's kind of like a review post. And I think it's in the first paragraph. I say that it's a great time to be a mobile photographer. And I think I could probably say that multiple times a year, every year, just because there's so many things happening in the space, with the iPhone 16 and the photographic styles, that was just a real exciting thing. The Reeflex lens, it's another really exciting thing. I could even say my little new mini tripod is an exciting thing. It's just there's so many things that companies are making to help us have more fun at this stuff. And I just can't wait to get out and shoot some more if it would ever just stop raining.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I look forward to for next year. Dave, what do you look forward to in the new year? We'll finish off with a couple of ideas or thoughts about what we're excited about coming up.
Well, I mean, very similar. Just what opportunities are out there, and partially to see if Apple's going to do anything with the photographic styles. Are they going to say, okay, well, here's your style, and we're going to keep it the same? Or, mid-year, are they going to say, well, we're offering these new photographic styles in addition to what's there, or we're making these changes? I can't see them dropping it completely. It has not been a disaster. I don't know what the uptake is in the general public, or in general, how much is being used. But I would love to see an expansion on that. And I know everyone's AI crazy. I still would love to see them come out. Like they came out with the Pro video camera. I would love them to come out with either a Pro camera or a way that we could do just a little of the things, like select a lens, because like in the calculator, you can go basic or you can change mode to scientific.
Yeah.
I would love to have a basic, and then you would have to go and push the mode for an advanced camera with the advanced settings. That way, most people, like we all know Apple's the 80-80 rule, 90-90 rule, however you want to say it, 90% of the people, 90% of the time. That would be great. You could have that for them there. There'd be no question, but it would still give us a little chance. So that would, the expansion, new opportunities and expansion of like photographic styles or something like that too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. What say you, Dwight?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to, now's the time when you start hearing about all the rumors of the next iPhone that'll be coming out in September. We'll know a little bit more about the software. I'd like to, have the ability to turn all of this processing off on the Apple native camera, because I am primarily a RAW shooter. But for 2025, I'm going to keep shooting. Not all my photos are good. I have happy accidents every once in a while. So, I think we all have to put ourselves in a position where we can continue to take photos. And, I think each one we learn a little bit of something when we look at them. And, I'm going to continue down the road of, working on my editing. Adobe, I know not everybody's a big fan of Adobe, but I'm pretty locked into the Photoshop and the Adobe Camera Raw ecosystem. And there's a lot of neat stuff that's coming out right now, like the reflection removal. Maybe we can showcase that one at some point, Greg. That just blows my mind, where you can take a photo of a storefront and you push a button and it takes all the reflection out. But a lot of times you want to keep that reflection in. But hang on just a second here, I'm losing my voice. But anyway, yeah, I'm just going to continue down that journey and learn with you guys and learn with our audience and. Look forward to, all of us growing together, as a group here and as a global team that's interested in mobile photography for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I'm excited for what, like I say, I'm excited for what happens in mobile photography, but I'm also excited to see what you guys produce next year. And, another thought, Will Newcomb in the chat, I believe he had to go, but he did say at one point, he asked if we could illustrate the difference between natural focus and over sharpening. Lots of people talk about it, but don't really but it's not really recognizable on a phone. I might beg to differ. I think it might be recognizable on a phone.
Yeah, I've got enough pictures to illustrate that one, Greg. I think. I mean, it's, especially in the raw edit that I did, it was pretty clear the difference between the processed detail and the unprocessed, bare raw.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I would need to understand a little more about Will's question, but if he's looking at it, just on the phone, it may be hard to see. But when I put it on a big screen on my monitor, it's pretty easy to see.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, guys, I think before Dwight and I lose our voices completely, we'll call it a night. And just want to, thank all the listeners for, checking us out over the year. And, I think we've grown our audience a little bit. In fact, I know we have the Spotify, they put out this thing every year about how the performance of your podcast or whatever, and I think our listeners are up maybe 13%. I forget what the number is, but we're glad that people are checking out the show, and we're happy to do this. We're still ironing out some of the kinks of doing a live thing on YouTube. But we're trying to, do what we can to make the quality better, the sound quality for the podcast and things like that. And I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun doing this. So I'm glad you guys are here with me. And I think we all make a great team. Mm-hmm. And I can't wait for, to see what happens in the future. So on that note, Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
It's December 30th as we record this. And so, we're going to take the next day or so or whatever to reflect on the year and see what's coming up in the new year. And I guess we'll see everybody on the next one.
Let's see those pictures. Keep them coming.
Yep.
Yes,
Great
absolutely.
one, everyone.
Yep. Have a good one.